I thought today we'd take a bit of a pause from the learning how to do photography series that I thought I'd start in the last video to change over to look at some cheap lenses. Specifically today, we're going to be looking at this, the 7 Artisan 18mm f5.6 lens for L-mount cameras. Now, this lens is manual focus only, so it's got a bit of a learning curve to use, especially if, like me, you're new to manually focusing your lens when you're out taking photos. But can it produce nice images? Is it sharp? And is it usable? They were the 3 questions I wanted to answer in this video. And I think for quite a lot of manual focus L-mount lenses that are a lot cheaper than the autofocus options that are available from Sigma and Lumix and Leica, are they actually worth it? Is that saving of, well, in this case, quite a lot of money? This lens specifically is £60 or £70 on Amazon. So is that saving worth it versus the actual first party or third party, I guess, options for lenses? Well, I took the S5D out around Durham with this 18mm lens stuck to the front, and it was a sunny day, so it was actually quite nice to go out and take some photos for once in a non-rainy environment. And some of the results were actually quite nice. Now, while I was out shooting, I couldn't help but thinking using a manual focus lens on a mirrorless camera is kind of like driving a sports car around a racetrack with the handbrake on. You really are limiting yourself, because obviously mirrorless cameras are renowned for their autofocusing abilities, and that's one of the main selling points of them versus DSLRs that they have mainly replaced now. So, should you buy manual focus lenses for mirrorless? Are they worth it? Well, let's take a look at some of the images this lens has produced. And let's answer the question of, is it worth it? So then, first up in these photos was just a little image of some lights on my stairs. These I've literally just included to see if the lens has any bokeh. It doesn't. The second was a test on a light bulb just to see about chromatic aberration. And while there is a bit around the central light, there isn't too much. And yeah, to be honest, that's surprising for such a cheap, well, budget lens. Now next up, we've got a picture of Gilesgate Hill in Durham. This here was the first photo that I really took outdoors that I actually liked and actually managed to kind of hit focus on. So here with the car that you're seeing, I did actually manage, just about anyway, to get my focus right-ish with this vehicle. Now, obviously the image itself isn't anything to write home about, but it was just nice to actually hit focus, to be honest. Now this was an example where I didn't hit focus, and I actually thought this would have been quite a nice image if it had been in focus. But alas, learning how to use manual focus lenses, it's always going to be one of the drawbacks, really. You're always going to miss some shots. Now here was a nice one. This was a silhouette of Durham Cathedral on the bridge. It would have been nicer if I'd had a lens with a bit of a longer reach, because obviously you can't really make out much of the cathedral from this far back, but it's nice. And if you warm it up a bit, you can get quite a nice, well, overall image. Now, this is a picture that I retook from one that was in the first video on this channel, where a person had asked if I could re-edit the photo, like I said. And I have. So it was a bit of a wider angle view. I've gone with that nostalgic vibe again I was trying to capture, but I think it's just a bit nicer this time. An indoor test now. So this was focusing on the glass of lemonade I was having in a pub. And to be honest, the colours in this image are really quite nice, warm vibes, and it's just overall quite nice. As with this image here, ISO 2500, no noise creeping in. Again, pretty decent. Now, this was probably my favourite image of all of them. A nice sunset. Sort of one. I warmed it up a bit in post and haven't done much else to it, to be honest. And similarly here, just a bit of a warm up, just to get that nice sun glow going in the image. And again, to be honest, the lens, when you focus correctly and when you enable focus peaking in the camera, because I totally forgot that was a thing for manual lenses, it can genuinely capture some pretty sharp and nice images. And I know if you YouTube this lens, you do get some people talking about barrel-like edge distortion, but I didn't really see much of that. Now here in low light is more of a test of the camera than the lens, ISO 8000 and some noises creeping in. However, here in a restaurant in Durham, nice pizzas by the way, in Vino as it's called, solid. Again, the focus hit pretty well on the menu here, and there was some nice background separation. Now this photo was taken after sunset and kind of lost some of that nice amber glow, but overall, again, relatively sharp. Now there is patches of chromatic aberration in some of the windows here. I'm not sure if you can see that on the video. And then moving on again, we've got just a black and white image. This was more to see about edge distortion with this lens, but to be honest, I'm not really seeing very much. Overall, I have actually quite liked using it. It's produced some really nice images. I'm just running through profile corrections, but obviously there isn't any for this lens because it's a dumb lens, so to speak. It doesn't actually interface with the camera. Here, just looking at some light trails. The S5D's 5-axis image stabilization really does make photography quite nice because images like this are so easy to capture handheld at 1/1/3 or even a second, to be honest. You can probably go up to a second. And then the final one, this was just again capturing the clouds and looking at colors mainly. I mean, nothing to write home about in the image itself, but color wise it's really nice. Now you'll see me just playing around with the exposure here, just trying to see the dynamic range of the camera and what we can pull out of the shadows while still keeping the sky that same nice twilight vibe. So yeah, that was a little summary of the photos from this lens, and I hope you've enjoyed them. So, you've seen the photos. What do you think? Now, for me, while some of them are quite soft, the colour reproduction from this lens is genuinely quite impressive. Those sunset photos, the colours you could pull out of the raw files, obviously quite a lot of it is to do with Panasonic's quite awesome colour science, but the lens helps, and it genuinely is very usable for landscape photos, especially ones where sharpness isn't critical. Now, let's move on to the question of, is it worth it for you? I'd say if you want something to liven up your photography, if you are solely reliant on autofocus lenses, or if you're just someone new to photography who is looking to grab another lens to maybe just, I don't know, make your collection a bit more depthful, I'd say it's worth it. It's £65, £60 on Amazon, so if you don't like it, or if it's soft, or you get a dodgy copy, you can return it quite easily. But for a bit of fun on a day out that makes your camera really light, because this lens does not have electronics in it. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's very small, so it's really quite nice to have on the camera. It's a nice tool to use, and if you're okay with taking some time to learn how to manually focus your lens, overall the results can be very good. So I would say, in all, the lens is worth it. But obviously, if you don't want to spend time doing manual focus, if you photograph like wildlife, obviously it's a no-go. I mean, it's an 18mm lens, so you wouldn't be doing that anyway. But if you want to do, I'd say, I don't really know, you wouldn't really do any fast-moving like subject work with an 18mm lens, would you? So I guess that kind of rules that off. So I'd say go for it. It's £65. What realistically are you going to lose? So just before we wrap up this video, I thought I'd give you a little timeline on what I think I'm going to do on this channel. So the next video up, I think, is going to be another lens review, unfortunately. I'm going to be looking at the 85mm f1.8 Meke, however the hell you pronounce it, lens. And then after that, I'm thinking that I could do a first few weeks learning guide almost. So I'll run through all the photos I've taken in the first 3 weeks of having a camera, and we'll see how I've developed and what I've learned, and I can share that with you guys. And well, I don't know, it might be useful for someone, so let me know if that sounds like a good idea in the comments below. I also hope that whoever commented in the last video regarding the orange tree photo, I hope you enjoyed the re-edit of that. Now that photo was taken again. I went back down to the river and used the 18mm lens to recapture that. And I actually prefer how it came out versus the 50mm lens. So I hope that was a nice inclusion for that person. So yeah, I hope you all have a good week and are having a good day. And I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for taking the time to click on it. And if you've enjoyed, please feel free to subscribe, like, and comment down below what you'd like to see on this channel in the future. So yeah, ta-ta for now.